Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I want to answer the question, can you save a pepper plant that looks like this? And the answer, short answer is yes. I'm going to show you how and what to do. Pepper plants here about 20 weeks old, started back in March, never made it out to my garden, never were given away, and they're all growing still, but they're bonsai plants, and they're all trying to produce peppers. The whole goal of a plant is to flower, produce fruit, produce seed, and reproduce. These plants have been stuck in here, like I said, for 20 weeks. I've been watering them. They're a little bit yellow. They need fertilizer. If you keep pepper plants watered, fed, they're going to produce. They're going to be little bonsai plants, but that's not what we want. So I'm going to show you how to save this. Why is that important? Sometimes you may buy pepper plants that look a little bit like this. Hopefully you get a good deal on them. At the end of the season, so to speak, sometimes middle of June, you start seeing plants go on sale. If they're cheap enough, yes, you can save them. I don't recommend it because it takes a while for them to recover. But the beauty is that if you have a long enough season, every plant here can be trimmed up, fed, planted, and it's going to turn into a full-size plant and produce for you. Let's go over some of the basics. And again, one of the reasons I'm showing you this is because maybe your pepper plants didn't do well. You're finding some plants on sale at different places. I just bought these. They were on sale. 4 plants for $2. And they're already producing, they're flowering. They're kind of small. They've been in here too long. But they've been watered and fed nicely. They're nice and green. They're producing. So I'm going to do the process that I show you here, and these are going to go into one of my vertical towers. But sometimes you'll come across plants that are different degrees of being beat up. These are beautiful, and you can take care of them and you can get them growing if you have a good 90 days before your next frost. I think it's important just to let you know that these have been watered pretty regularly and have been fed periodically. Not perfectly, that's why they're still a little bit yellow, but without fertilizer they would have died off. They're just not going to be able to produce. So whenever you're growing in a container, smaller containers, your plants are getting large, you have to make sure you feed them more often with a water-soluble fertilizer, or your container plants can end up looking like this. They're not going to stay this small, but a smaller container, bigger plants, heat of the summer, sucks the moisture out, pulls out the nutrients, the fertilizers, and if you don't replace it, your plants are going to start looking kind of beat up. How you can tell that this plant is going to be okay is all the leaves fell off down here from not watering them way back when, but you can see all these leaves starting to pop out in the joints. Wherever there's a leaf meeting the stem in the joint, if you see tiny little leaves, this guy's going to be perfectly fine. Now we'll clean this up, get it into the ground, and I'll show you what I do. Here's another example. Here's the jalapeno. That was a facing heaven. Right down here, there was a leaf. It died off. Right in the joint, more leaves are coming out. So these plants, you can see them right down there, these plants really want to survive. And if we get into here, you can just see all the peppers that are going. The savior to these plants has been the water-soluble fertilizer, even in these small containers. For the last 14 days we have 90-degree temperatures, so they were running out of water. They're just beat up, but my point is that they're really, really hardy. They want to survive. So if we start giving them care, they're going to be okay. You don't want to buy transplants like this normally. You want to get them into the ground when they're smaller. The root systems haven't crowded the container. If we pop some of these out, you can see, you know, that this one's a little bit stuck, but you can see how root bound they are. You don't want your transplants to get like that. You want to get them into the ground when the roots are just beginning to fill up the container. There's some nice green growth up there. You get them into the ground at the right temperature. The roots take off. Stronger roots are going to mean you're going to get great green growth. So we've got the pepper plants. Let's pick, we'll take a jalapeno. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, the pepper itself, this is a cayenne, is almost as big as the entire plant. And again, right in the joint, right down here, you can see a leaf coming out, so it's going to be okay. So let me pick a couple of these and we'll take them over to the spot that we're going to put them in my garden, or maybe we'll put them in containers. Just for fun, look at all the banana peppers in here. I mean, you know, you can get a nice little harvest. This is just in the flat, typically holds, I think, 36 plants. There's probably 28 in there, but all these banana peppers are forming. In theory, if I sat this into another container, something a bit bigger than this whole flat, kept water in there and added in water-soluble fertilizer every week, you're going to get not huge plants. You're going to still have bonsai type plants because the roots are constrained, but you could get tons of harvests out of them. Now the peppers are going to be a little bit smaller, but they're absolutely delicious. So that could just be something fun you do. You don't want to grow that way. But I just want to show you just, you know, how these plants really do want to produce. And banana peppers are great to grow this way, in a container, smaller container, constrained roots, water-soluble feeding. You can get peppers in a really, really small space. The 4 peppers are going to go right into the space right here. They're going to be about a foot apart. Peppers can be planted much more closely together than you might think. The whole key to this is really prepping the soil. I'll show you how to do that. Getting in some compost, certainly if you have it, some organic granular. That's all just going to be really for the future of this planting area. What's going to make these plants take off, grow, recover is a water-soluble fertilizer. If you're comfortable using the chemical types, which I do recommend in emergencies, this would be an emergency. They're not harmful to you or your garden, especially if you're just using them once or twice. But the chemical types really have a lot of nitrogen, and you've seen Miracle Grow, Vigoro, Plant Expert. They have like a 24% nitrogen. That's what these plants need. They need to get hit with nitrogen. They also need phosphorus and potassium, get the roots growing, etc. But they need to recover their growth, and nitrogen's the best way to go about it. If you don't want to use the chemical types, fish emulsion works. I recommend AgroThrive. You can find them in my video description, find a link and a code. Any water soluble. That means the N, P, and K is going to be immediately available to your plant. Why did I do this video? Well, you probably won't be doing this, but you could if you want to experiment or you find some plants that need to recover. But if your plants are struggling in your garden, be it peppers, tomatoes, whatever you're growing, hit them with the water-soluble fertilizer. That's going to get them jump-started because it usually has a little bit more nitrogen than your organic granulars, but that nitrogen's immediately available. So don't be afraid to give your plants more water-soluble if they look like they're struggling. In containers, you're going to have to give your plants water-soluble at least every 2 weeks when they're larger, because again, they're going to pull the nitrogen out of that container. No matter what size a container is, bigger plants will take the nitrogen out of there, along with the other nutrients. The first thing you want to do is remove the fruit. And look on that plant. If there's any flowers, here's a little pepper forming. If there are any flowers, there's one right up there. Remove that. You're just going to remove, let's see if I can pull this. You don't want to break anything. You just want to remove, these are the facing heavens, the fruits and the flowers. We're not going to top them off. We're not going to do anything. Well, I broke this one off. So that's fine. It's good to grow back. But be careful so you don't do what I did there. Facing heaven is off. Looking for any flowers or any fruit. Little jalapenos. Probably best if you use scissors. Look for the flowers. And that's the little harvest coming off of there. Here's the big cayenne. And you can actually cook with those. There's another one. Oh, that's the top. And no flowers are on there. So we pretty much just have stems and leaves, and down here at the bottom you can see how the roots are really constrained. You're going to really loosen them up. You're not going to cause shock or problem. These plants are already beat up. They've been surviving. They've been through drought. I mean, I'll water them in the morning. By midday, they're out of water, and I don't water them again till the next day. So they're really beat up. But you really want to get these roots going in different directions, loosen them up, and that's pretty good. All right, let's get the planting holes set up. Just 4 quick holes dug in here. I don't know, maybe they're going to be 12, 14 inches apart. You know, not really that deep. Something like that. We're going to add in, if you want, this is about, well, it's a little bit too much, about 2 tablespoons of any organic granular fertilizer. There's some NP and K that is immediately available to the plants right now, but this is going to take time to break down over the weeks and months with soil microbiology. We'll break this down, the NP and K will become available. Again, we're going to use the water-soluble fertilizer. What's most important, any compost that you have, get that mixed in there. You want this space to be nice and loose. You want it to hold moisture. You want these plants to go from, being starved of water and nutrients and being neglected to having this great little planting hole where moisture is going to stay around the roots. The roots can go and grow out and around, fill up the space. That's going to have the plant take off. Next, we want to just work this in to the existing soil. I don't know how deep we're going. I mean, overall maybe 8 inches deep, but just really kind of mix it up. Especially if you're putting in the organic granular, you want to incorporate that throughout the area, throughout the soil, throughout the planting area. And that's all we're going to do to set the hole up. Now let's drop in the plants. Planting hole is set up, and remember, we loosened up the root ball. I am just going to press this down so that the roots are going in all different directions, and then we're just going to backfill. Press it in, not too much deeper than where the container was, like right there is where it sat in the container above the soil surface. And then we're going to just cover just a little bit of the stem. We're not going to cover way up here or anything. Just get it planted almost to the same level it was at. Press it in, and these plants are going to be good to go. Part of the reason I wanted to do this video is because it's July 2nd. If you have transplants, here in Maryland Zone 7, we have at least July, August, September, into half of October. We still have 100 days of growing before the frost comes. These plants are still going to produce, so in many areas you can still get your pepper plants in. If you're not getting a frost till late November, beginning in December, you have plenty of time. Just starting from seed might be a little bit problematic, but if you find beat up transplants at different nurseries or places, you can save them. Every time I put transplants into the ground, they already look like they grew and they look healthier. So we're going from neglected plants to very protected. The next thing we want to do, since it is July, the heat's coming here in Maryland, we're going to put down a good inch of mulch. You can use anything for mulch. I like using shredded hardwood. And we're just going to cover up this area with about an inch of mulch. That's going to keep the moisture in there. Plants, again, are going from being neglected to really protected. We're giving them everything they need. If you want to subscribe and follow me, I'm going to certainly show you how these plants do. But if you watch my garden ramblings, I'll take a stop, check these plants out, and you're going to see how they're really, I think they're almost going to double in size every week because the soil temperature is right, the outdoor temperature is right, and they're going to get everything they need. These plants are going to really take off, and I'll be doing updates through July, August, September, etc. Pepper plants are in, mulched up. Going to water them with about ½ a gallon of water right at the base and around the plant with the Water-Soluble. I'll show you how I do that. Really putting in, again, the Water-Soluble immediately available to the plant so that it's going to have plenty of nutrients for the next really month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Because the root ball is only this big, remember, that even if there's moisture all over the place, the root system hasn't gotten to it yet. So for the first 7-10 days, you should really come out, give these a drink of water, just real quick at the base like this. 1, 2, 3. That's going to ensure that you're getting to that root ball, the small root ball, has the moisture it needs, and then the roots, the plant will grow, the roots will grow, and everything will begin to move out. But you want to do that for a good 7 to 10 days. Then you can go to every other day, every 3 days. Depends on the rain and stuff. I hate really telling people how often to water, but for these guys, first 7-10 days, every day. Now for the Water-Soluble, you're going to put about ½ a gallon just around each plant. I'm using AgroThrive. This is a 2-gallon container, and I put in a tablespoon of a chemical type. I used I used Plant Expert. That's to give this space everything that is needed. The chemical fertilizers are not something to fear. You shouldn't use them every day. You shouldn't abuse them. But for emergencies, they're perfectly safe to use, and they're going to help your plant out. The Water-Soluble is going to have all the nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, calcium, all the micronutrients. So we want to give each space a good ½ gallon of the Water-Soluble, and then just kind of mix it through like that. There's really nothing else you're going to have to do for these plants. They're going to take off, they're going to recover, and they're going to be fine. Again, please subscribe. I'll show you how these grow over the next 60-90 days. Also going to be doing a video on complete cucumber pruning. Going to be doing a video on growing pepper plants the right way over there. And we'll be doing, what do you do for pepper plants come July with feeding, pruning, etc. Thanks again for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and I'll see you all next time.